Hey guys, it's Tina back in for another story. I wanted to say hello and thank you for joining me if you're following me this far. I have been trying to tell true crime on YouTube. I don't want to seem so like too excited when I'm telling you, especially a story like this. So I'm not going to be animated or anything like that. You know, if you want to watch the story, I hope you just understand that, you know, there's a message here. There's always a message, and the message is to always be careful and mindful of what's around you and your surroundings, because you never know who's watching you. So the story that I'm going to tell you about is about Cherish Lily Perrywinkle. She was born on December 24th of 2004, and she was abducted on June 21st of 2013. So she lived to be 8 years old. So what happened was her mother, Rain Periwinkle, and her two sisters went to like a dollar store and were shopping. Apparently, the kids wanted more clothing and items that the mother could afford, and a man named Donald James Smith, who had just gotten out of prison 3 weeks prior for assault on another child or another case very similar. He had a very long, extensive, has a very long, extensive background with this. So he goes and he offers the mother a $150 Walmart card and says, you know, I'll take you shopping, just come with me. And, you know, he'll pay for everything and take care of, you know, what the kids need for. Looks like they're likely shopping for Christmas and possibly Cherish's birthday, because she was born on Christmas Eve. So anyway, they end up going to the Walmart. The mother does say something about being a little hesitant. It was a van that they had to get into. So she said that he was pretty insistent on her getting into the van, is from what I've read so far. And that she did feel a little uncomfortable, but she decided to go anyways. I think she just wanted to provide her children with the best that she could, you know. So she ends up going, and they go shopping. There's surveillance footage she's seen on CCTV. All the whole family is shopping around, looking for things in Walmart, you know how people do, looking for clothing, things like that. And around 10:30 p.m. that night, Donald James Smith says to the mother that he wants to take them to go get some cheeseburgers. And you know how a lot of Walmarts have a place to eat. A lot of them are McDonald's or, you know, another branch of food. But at that time, the mother didn't say anything, I guess, and she followed him, or he somehow probably like convinced her to go. I imagine so. And so she went with him. So on CCTV, it shows that she never went into a place to eat. They walked right out the door, and she's seen getting into his van. And then, so also to note, the place that he was talking about getting the burgers was closed. So they were not serving any food at that time. So this obviously was planned. So the mother, a half hour later, her name is Rain Periwinkle, called the police and reported her child had been abducted, and it took 5 hours for them to, from what I've read, to put an Amber Alert out on Cherish Perrywinkle. So I think that's a bit unfortunate too. You think they would have put that out right away, especially given the circumstances. I know the mother has gotten some backlash about this, but what ends up happening, and she doesn't deserve that, by the way. You know, I know she was probably in a desperate spot and she wanted to provide for her kids. But anyway, the following day, behind a Baptist church near a creek, they found Cherish's body. Someone had called 911. I'm reading in one article that it says that an officer called because they saw the white van, and that it seemed suspicious, especially knowing that the child had been missing. And then also the fact that, you know, it just was a very odd situation. So it could have been, it says police officer, but when you hear the 911 call, it just sounds like someone, you know, said, you know, oh, I just heard about a missing child, and I heard about this child being abducted, and there's this man acting suspiciously near this creek. And that's where eventually they ended up finding Cherish. And the unfortunate circumstances is that she was gone, and he had supposedly SA'd her in his van. And then also strangulation was involved as well. And then she was dumped onto, you know, into this area where the creek was behind this Baptist church in Jacksonville, Florida. So it's really a really sad case. It gets even worse as you think about and you go through the trial. It said that some of the jurors that were on the case were crying when they had seen the crime scene photos of Cherish and the state that she was left in when she was found, and that it was very traumatizing, while the defense attorney tried to have the jurors focus more on the law rather than their raw emotions, supposedly. But, you know, I don't know anyone that could see crime scenes like that and not understand what happened to this poor little child. She was only 8 years old. This guy, Donald James Smith, had a very long, extensive background. And so what ends up happening is he gets sentenced to death. So they actually do sentence him to the death penalty. He had so many priors, and this time he was sentenced to death. So then also, after once a person is sentenced to death, I've told you guys before, for some of you that may not know, that once a person is sentenced to death, the burden now becomes on the state to reconcile why they are going to use a death penalty. So in this type of case, a death penalty lawyer needs to be in with this type of case. And also they are able to throw the kitchen sink at the case to use his past trauma. It said that he was sexualized at an early age, possibly had some problems growing up, issues with people messing with him, if you understand what I'm saying, as he was growing up. And then also he had some type of brain injury at the age of 10, but he continued to assault children. So obviously he had, you know, done this many times. He shouldn't have been out. I don't believe he should have ever been out. He was only out for 3 weeks before he committed this crime. So it's a really awful crime. So again, you get to hear the case, and they try to throw the kitchen sink at the case and try to save the man's life. That's what that's all about as far as death penalty cases go. In case you don't know, it's not just about the crime itself. It also becomes about the life that the state has to take. So it's a very interesting case. It's really horrible, but they did ultimately the Supreme Court upheld his death penalty case. In 2021, he was trying to argue something about something with one of the jurors or something to that nature. He also tries to use the mental illness as a defense. However, I do have some recordings where you hear him bragging to his cellmates of what he did. To the children and to the young girls, and it was a total brag. And then it was also, there was conversations between self, and they were talking like how big or something like that about how big this case was. It was just very bizarre behavior that was done by him, and also his cellmates or whomever he came in contact with. It was just like he was bragging about it. So I don't feel any remorse here. Anyways, guys, listen to the video. I'm sure I will have input in this video, or I will play it at the end of the video. Thanks for joining and watching, and please beware of your surroundings always. Never take offers from strangers. If it sounds too good to be true, it likely is. So also you can go to, I believe it's the Miranda.com, one of those search engines where you can check for offenders in your area, and you'd be surprised what you find if you check those websites out, and it will tell you, where the hot spots are of predators. Anyways, guys, I'll see you soon in the next video. Take care. Bye.